We have a secret speech, there's a space race, there's a crisis that almost, lights up the sky. This is We Didn't Start the Fire. We're moving on to Nikita Khrushchev and Billy Joel's song from 1989. I'm Matt Haswin. I'm a high school history teacher, and I'm here to take you through the song line by line, lyric by lyric. And today, well, it's Nikita Khrushchev. So when Billy Joel sings Khrushchev, he's actually pointing to the Soviet leader who pulled the USSR out of pure Stalinism, and then he drove the Cold War to its most dangerous edge. So when Stalin dies in 1953, Nikita Khrushchev clawed his way to the top of the party platform, right? So in 1956, he delivers the secret speech, which denounced Stalin's reign of terror. The shock from that launches this campaign of de-Stalinization all across the Soviet Union, and then it also sends aftershocks through the communist world. And as a result, hopes are on the rise, but there are some hard limits that begin to show up pretty fast. When Hungary tried to break free in 1956, as I talked about in that last video about Budapest, Soviet tanks roll right back into Budapest. Now, at the same time, when all this is going on, Khrushchev is trying to race to prove that socialism is superior, especially by demonstrating it with science and spectacle. We have Sputnik that orbits the Earth in 1957. Yuri Gagarin flies into space in 1961. Khrushchev barnstorms the world. He spars with Richard Nixon in the 1959 kitchen debate. Now, at home, Khrushchev begins pushing the virgin lands and the corn campaigns to boost food production, but with mixed results. But Berlin in all this was the pressure point. In 1961, East Germany sealed the border and built the Berlin Wall, and it turned a divided city into this concrete fact of the Cold War. The next year brought the most dangerous, almost 2 weeks in modern history. In October of 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis put Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba and the U.S. forces on high alert. And after 13 days of brinksmanship, Khrushchev agreed to remove the missiles from Cuba, and the U.S. pledged not to invade Cuba, and then quietly remove some missiles from Turkey. And out of that terror came some guardrails, like the hotline, the red phone, and then the 1963 Limited Test Ban Treaty. Now, the image that many remember of Khrushchev is him pounding his shoe at the United Nations. And it's iconic, whether or not it actually happened that way. But the reality is we have a leader who mixed bluster with real reforms. He was easing censorship a notch, and he freed millions from labor camps, and he allowed a bit more of a cultural thaw until the party turned on him. In 1964, he's out. He's replaced by Leonid Brezhnev, who promised stability over unease and upheaval. This all ties back to the song. When Khrushchev is mentioned here, it compresses a decade, the 1950s. It's a decade of whiplash. You have thaw and tanks and rockets and near war, and it shows how one leader could expand freedom at home, but still push the world to the edge, to the brink. So why does it matter? Well, Khrushchev explains the Cold War's volatility. You have reform colliding with empire, image politics that are meeting this nuclear arithmetic. And understanding him, you can then understand why the 1950s kind of turned into this on the edge of your seat 1960s. So if you enjoyed this installment of me covering We Didn't Start the Fire, leave a like, a share, a comment, a follow. All those things would be great, and they'd be very appreciated. And also, hey, you can go back to my profile if you've missed any portion of the song, and I've got them all leading up to this particular point right here. I hope you've enjoyed it, because next up after Khrushchev, we're going with Princess Grace. Thanks for watching.